Next stop everywhere.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. Happy Twin Peaks 30th anniversary. Oh, wait, that's a different podcast entirely. My mistake. Now, this is the Doctor Who podcast. So, yes, hello, everyone. Episode 179. I'm here. I'm Charles Skaggs, of course, still in the basement of solitude, hiding out from the coronavirus, but talking to one of my longtime friends, one of my best friends, and sort of father-in-law, Jesse Jackson. How you doing, Jesse?
Yes, it is. There's so much to unpack there. First off, happy 30th anniversary to you.
Thank you.
I saw that there was a rewatch involved, and
there was.
And what I loved is, was it both Hannah and I both? There was someone saying, "Hey, do you want to give your thoughts?" And we were both tweeting you and Zan, going, "Hey, did you see this?"
Yeah. Oh, you mean yeah. Oh, yeah. You're talking about the one guy on the Twin Peaks fandom page.
Yes.
Yeah. So apparently, yeah, that was Karen Lindsay.
Yeah, that right.
Was Karen, our partner in time from Once Upon a Time. And, trying to get me to write a little something for that, which I did, and I posted that. So if
nice.
Anybody want to check that out, that's on the Twin Peaks fandom page. But I also wrote we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
We'll kind of save the old Twin Peaks stuff for later, because this is the Doctor Who podcast. Let's talk Doctor Who.
And yes, a certain co-host had a big wedding anniversary. And as I shared on Facebook, if you follow me, I was one of the guests invited to the wedding of the century. Forget all that royal stuff.
Right.
Charles and Lori getting married, and was part of the wedding party. So
yeah, that was on April 5th, 1997. And you were more than just a guest. You gave the bride away.
I did. And truly one of my favorite weekends. And so we always joke that Lori always calls me dad when she sees me, and I always call her daughter.
Exactly.
Though some of the people on the internet think she really is my daughter, and I'm okay with that. Today,
today
we are talking Torchwood.
Yeah, exactly. We're not talking Doctor Who, sort of. Well, we're sort of talking Doctor Who because we're talking Captain Jack Harkness. But yeah, here at episode 179, we're talking Torchwood. The very first episode of Torchwood, Everything Changes. And now somehow we managed to not talk about this yet. So what better episode to kick off our Torchwood month for April 2020? As we all, like I said, hide out from the coronavirus. And I know you, of course, have mentioned on several occasions that Torchwood was your gateway into Doctor Who. So I have to imagine that you're really looking forward to talking about this.
I really am, Charles. Very quickly, for those of you who came in late, cue the Phantom. Yes, when I had Charles had been talking Doctor Who way back when we were part of a fanzine called Titan Talk, and I had no interest. Good friend of the podcast and one of my best friends, Ken Schaefer, had been a longtime Doctor Who fan and was like, you need to watch it. And I just had no interest. And I was, of all things, a Firefly fan podcast.
Yes.
And someone sent a letter saying that they felt like Malcolm Reynolds was Captain Jack. And they gave the reasons. They both were, rogues. They both wore long coats.
Right.
And so I went to Ken, because I was working with Ken at the time, and I said, "Hey, who's this Captain Jack guy? And can you lend me a couple of Doctor Who episodes that he's, or no, can you lend me the Torchwood stuff? And he
Right.
said, well, yeah, sure. So he gave me Torchwood. I ripped through the first 2 seasons. And then I said, really, I really like Captain Jack. Can you lend me some episodes that he's in on Doctor Who? And Ken, being wise, said,
Right.
it's just easier. And so he gave me the whole Eccles, series.
Eccleston, the series
Eccleston
1.
series.
Yeah, because
And,
Jack shows up at like starting with episode 8, I believe, The Empty Child. Yeah.
And the rest is history. So I always have a special place in my heart for Torchwood because that's what got me into the Doctor Who universe.
Right.
So you have been we've already established a long-time Who fan. We all know your origin story at your aunts in Florida, right? Grandparents in Florida. What was it? Aunts? Who were you in? Was it Florida? You first saw?
No, actually, what it was is my aunt and uncle.
Yeah.
In Columbus.
Okay.
Back in the day, Columbus, Ohio, had like I was a kid. I was hanging out with my parents, and I think I was about all of 14 maybe, and my parents were off playing cards with my aunt and uncle in the kitchen or wherever, and I was in the living room. And back in the day, back in the 80s when this took place, there was like no, there's like very few channels on. I mean, and my aunt and uncle didn't have basic cable at the time. So all they had were like, the 3 networks that we had, and then, the independent station, and then PBS. And so out of sheer boredom, I flipped over, and that was where we were watching the Doctor Who Tom Baker classic, The Seeds of Doom, which we've talked about here on the podcast. And, I caught this, brief, initially this of this guy turning into this plant monster. And I was just like, what is this? And then got into it, and then later on figured out what it was back in my home of Medina, Ohio.
So, and we're going to get to the episode, I promise, but
Yes.
I think this is interesting, at least for me, and I hope the audience. You hear there's going to be a Doctor Who spinoff.
Right.
What are your thoughts? What are you thinking when you hear this? What was the advanced buzz? And then I guess when we talk our topics, we'll get to what you thought of the, once you actually saw the actual episode.
Right. Well, initially once, word got out that because of the success of Doctor Who Series 1, that they were going to go ahead and spin Captain Jack off into his own TV series, Torchwood. And oddly enough, interestingly enough, rather, Torchwood, of course, being an anagram of Doctor Who. But the primary question right off the bat was, well, how does Jack get back from the far future? And, because, the Doctor had left him behind, and because thinking that, well, hey, he's this, thing that is now immortal, can't die, or at least can't stay dead. And apparently the TARDIS doesn't like that or whatever, so he felt like he had to leave Jack behind and never go back for him. But, weren't sure what was going on with that. And then we found out later on that the show was going to feature Naoko Mori reprising Toshiko Sato. We had seen her in the Eccleston era episodes, Aliens of London and World War III. So we knew she was going to be part of it. And then, a few other new characters, new actors I'd never heard of. So I wasn't quite sure what to expect until that first episode finally came out.
Okay.
How about you?
Like I said, I'd never heard of it, so I was just, I'm involved in this world.
After talking to Ken, and you found out what's going on.
He did tell me that it was more adult,
right?
And that if I had concerns with sexuality,
right?
Just he wanted to warn me beforehand. And I said I don't care.
Yeah.
And it really. I just was captivated by the very beginning, and for a big reveal that will be topic number 3
Yeah.
was something that I had seen some of this happen before, but it's very rare
Yeah.
what happened in
Okay.
topic number 3.
Exactly. And now, initially there was a little bit of controversy because Torchwood was geared more toward adult fare. There's, obviously in episode 2, there's this essentially this orgasm monster that alien that kills, embodies a host and then kills people by having sex with them and then killing them upon climax. So, not your traditional Doctor Who fare.
Well,
But Russell T Davies kind of structured this so that essentially Doctor Who is for all ages, and like your old people, young people, whatever. Torchwood is for older viewers, or at least older viewers that don't have a problem with that, and the Sarah Jane Adventures being for younger viewers.
right.
So you kind of get the full spectrum, and I thought that was very clever the way he did that.
It really was, and I mean, even in this episode, we have a scene where there is going to be a threesome.
Yes.
And you don't see that in Doctor Who. There's hardly any. There may be some implications that the Doctor dances.
Yes.
But it doesn't. That is not something that's covered in Doctor Who.
And to be honest, it's probably something that doesn't need to be covered in Doctor
I
Who.
totally agree.
Except maybe when you're talking about aliens or something. But Torchwood, the way it is, it kind of has that. It's not something that I think would rise to the level of an HBO series.
No, and I certainly think it isn't gratuitous.
Yes, exactly.
I think it is
because you don't really see full frontal nudity. You don't hear like a lot of F-bombs.
No.
So just something here and there, but yeah, but it's not geared toward that premium cable viewer.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like that happy medium between network TV and premium cable, I think.
Yeah. It is a similar to a Breaking Bad or a Mad Men, or it's shooting for that kind of level of sophistication.
Exactly.
And I think candidly it hits it. I'm really, really like all new series, it takes a while to find its footing, but the first 3 seasons of Torchwood are as good as anything we could want to see.
Exactly. All right. So if you're ready, let's get talking about Torchwood. All right. So this is like I said, Torchwood episode Everything Changes. Written by Russell T Davies, directed by Brian Kelly. This is the first episode of series 1 from 2006. So we're looking 14 years once again. Starring, of course, John Barrowman as Captain Jack Harkness, Eve Myles, who we had seen earlier in The Unquiet Dead season, the third episode from Doctor Who Series 1. But here she's playing Gwen Cooper, whom we find out is her Unquiet Dead character's descendant, which I thought was a nice little touch. We get Gorman, who is a character actor that a lot of people have seen elsewhere. Primarily like in the like he's in Pacific Rim and a bunch of other movies as well. But he's playing Owen Harper, and like I said, we get the return of Naoko Mori as Toshiko Sato, and Gareth David-Lloyd as Ianto Jones. So that's our principal cast. And guest cast, we have Indira Varma as Suzie Costello, who's essentially Gwen Cooper's predecessor in Torchwood. And she turns up again later in the Torchwood episode, They Keep Killing Suzie. But HBO fans probably know her primarily for playing Ilaria San on HBO's Game of Thrones. And she was also Niobe on Rome, which is another great HBO series. And then she was Zoe Luther, Idris Elba's ex-wife on Luther. And as a fan of the late lamented series Human Target, and the one that was on Fox, not the earlier one in
Yes.
ABC starring Rick Springfield. But in the Fox version, she played a character named Ilsa Pucci on
Yes.
Human Target, and she was very interesting.
Yeah. And for you probably are not watching this, but there is a current procedural for life
Yeah.
that is based on some true facts about an inmate wrongly accused that gets a legal degree and he's in prison. She plays the warden in that, and she's very good in it.
I think
she is
I think she's on Carnival Row too.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
If I'm not
She
mistaken.
is one of my favorite actresses. When I see her, I know we're going to get a great performance.
Right.
And she's just someone I really enjoyed.
Does it seem a little weird to go back and see her on Torchwood after
Yes, it is
all
a little
that?
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're like, wow, she's a really big star. And I also loved her in Human Target. So
Yeah, she's done
so greatness.
She's done pretty well with her career. Obviously,
Yes.
we get the introduction of Kai Owen as Reese Williams, and he's turns up later in a Torchwood Big Finish audio called "Forgotten Lies." So if you miss Reese, that might be a good one to check out. And he was also on the UK version of Being Human. And then we have Tom Price as PC Andy Davidson, who's also introduced in this episode. He's known for playing the character Sergeant Barkley in the Seventh Doctor Big Finish audio Nightshade, based on the novel, Doctor Who novel by Mark Gatiss. So that's pretty cool. And he's been in a ton of other Torchwood Big Finish audios. So he seems to have developed a nice little side gig as doing those Big Finish audios. So have some trivia before we get started, if you're interested.
I am always interested in trivia. Go
Okay.
hit it. Show me.
All right. So the opening scene in this episode, involving the reanimation of a corpse in an alley at night, was apparently adapted from a pitch written by Russell T Davies and Julie Gardner for a possible science fiction series called Excalibur. And that was planned before Russell T Davies became responsible for the 2005 revival of Doctor Who. Now, in the Torchwood Season 2 premiere, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Captain John Hart made this little joke about the name Torchwood and said, hey, it should have been named Excalibur, which was a fun little in-joke if you were already aware of this. But if you weren't, and you were a little puzzled by that line, that's why. So I don't know if you already knew that or not.
I did not know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, but I'm guessing, just offhand, I'm guessing they couldn't use the name Excalibur because Marvel Comics had already claimed that name for one of their mutant super teams, spinning off from the X-Men. So that would be my guess anyway.
And of course, they wanted Torchwood is an anagram of Doctor Who, so which was another kind of nice thing that they had done. So yeah,
I have to think that I'd like to imagine that Russell T Davies was up late one night, like fiddling with anagrams, and then finally came up with Torchwood. He's like, "That's it. That's my show.
That would work."
Eureka! All right. So you're ready to go into our main topics?
I am.
All right. Topic number 1. This is going to be a pretty straightforward topic discussion, I think, because it's a pilot episode. We're introducing the team, the concept, and so it's very straightforward for the most part. Topic number 1, let's talk about Captain Jack Harkness and Gwen Cooper, because those two have a pretty interesting introduction to one another, and eventually Jack ends up recruiting Gwen as Suzie's replacement by the end of the episode, but it's a pretty interesting road to get there from point A to point B. So what are your thoughts on the return of Captain Jack Harkness after watching him in Doctor Who, and the introduction of Gwen Cooper?
So one of the things that when I first started watching this series and started watching Doctor Who, I would have itches like, man, there's something there that's happening that I don't know about. Let me go to Wikipedia. Let me do some research.
Do your homework, yeah.
Yeah, not necessarily worrying about spoilers, but just, I couldn't just relax and enjoy the show. And one of the things they mentioned is the Gwen Cooper was a point of view character. Yeah. It was the audience's gateway into this world. And they often talk that same way about the companion. The companion is that. So I think that the Gwen Cooper character is really good at this.
As the audience's gateway character into the world of Torchwood, yeah.
Yeah, she does a great job of believing yet finding things unbelievable, asking the right questions. I just really like the character. I like her and Reese together. Yeah. I like that. I didn't write this down for one of my quotes, but Jack says something about, your boyfriend's stupid. And she's like, oh, you've met him. Where she loves him, but she understands his limitations.
Right.
It's a really good character. Now, I do find it hard to watch it now and not think of Amy in the stripogram,
yes,
outfit.
Are you picturing Gwen as a stripogram?
No.
A policewoman stripogram.
Yes. Yeah. But I really like it.
Well, to be fair to Amy, it was a kissogram, not a stripogram.
Kissogram. That's right. Yes. Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on Gwen? And then we'll go to Captain Jack.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, since you came through it with Torchwood first before Doctor Who, I'm guessing you have a different perspective from me because I came at from the Doctor Who side, and I like Gwen. I find it interesting that Russell T Davies kind of followed the similar path that he did with Rose. By obviously when we talked about Rose that
absolutely
that Rose Tyler was the audience's gateway character into the world of Doctor Who, the Doctor's world, and so here Gwen does that very same thing only with Torchwood, and like you said, she's an interesting character. Russell T Davies does a pretty good job fleshing her out as a pretty three-dimensional character in just this one episode. We find out that she's she's a police constable. She's very frustrated at her job because no one takes her seriously because she's not a detective, and she finds it a little lacking. And then, but she's got this curiosity about her. She's got this potential, and which I think exceeds her position. So she's probably a little bit bored with her position. So then when Torchwood comes along, she's probably she's immediately intrigued. And that's probably why by the end of the episode, when Jack offers her the position, she's like, hell yeah, I'm going to take that position because my current job sucks.
Yeah, he's really intrigued by her. She does a great job of, we get her frustrations.
Yeah.
We get that she's smart and that people kind of tend to take her for granted. We get that she has a very healthy, relationship with, Reese.
Right.
It is a well-rounded character. The other thing I like is
she's strong, she's sassy,
yes.
and she's got a lot of spirit.
And one of the things that I find really enjoyable on British TV is they cast interesting looking actors. If and this is going to come across
not the traditional Hollywood
yes.
beauties, shall
yes,
we say.
And thank you. And I no means imply
right.
that she is not a beautiful woman. She is. I was lucky enough to meet her at a convention. Yeah. She was charming. It was really nice. But you look at I love Nathan Fillion and The Rookie, right?
Right.
It's popcorn, but everyone on that show looks like a model.
Right, exactly.
Right? It is that's TV.
That's
That's US TV.
especially American network television. Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
And so to have her, she looks quote unquote normal, and she looks interesting.
Yeah.
And she's smart.
She looks like a real person, is what you're saying.
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that a lot. Especially when you go to I didn't know John Barrowman at this point.
Yeah.
I had not seen Doctor Who, so I didn't know who Captain Jack was. I know nothing about him, and I'm immediately struck by how ruggedly handsome he is. Speaking of, Nathan Fillion in a castle.
Yeah, John Fillion kind of fills that. He's that classic Hollywood type. He's got the jaw. The good looks. And he's got that twinkle in his eye.
I was just going to say that twinkle in his eye. He has this, the scene where she's walking in, bringing the pizza boxes where everyone's ignoring her. And then he gets mad because they couldn't keep the bit. Right. He was like, I was going to come up with a joke. This was great. And Captain Jack sees something in her immediately.
Yes.
He sees some intelligence. He sees someone, and their discussion back and forth is so good and so likable, and he's likable, but at the same time a little scary and a little mysterious. You don't know if you should trust Jack. Right. And, as a new viewer, I'm like, I don't know. This guy's holding secrets. What do you mean? Why is this American in Britain? And why the only one we know is from like 1941? What does that mean? And oh my goodness, when he shot and comes back,
you were stunned, right?
I was like, what?
What's up with that?
Yeah. These two characters, if nothing else worked.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that because I think a lot works in this episode, but those two alone are like, okay, I want to see more of these two people. I want to see more how they interact. I want to see how more they get together, not in a romantic way, right, though there is some immediate attraction between them. Yeah. It's just really cool.
Yeah. And so was it their relationship, their interaction? I guess I'm trying to understand, what was the main thing that hooked you into Torchwood?
I think their relationship to begin with.
Okay.
I like the idea that he's a mystery.
Yeah.
She is wanting to do. I like their banter back and forth.
Yeah.
I like how he respected her as a person and as she could provide to the team. A couple of the other things that I really liked, and I know we're going to talk about the other characters.
Yeah.
But when you see a split screen almost, or a cutback where Jack says, and no alien technology ever leaves Torchwood. And
yes, we're going to talk about that.
Yes, and then we see all the members. You're like, oh, that's nice. And then at the end, them coming clean.
Right.
I'm like, this is going to be not
your typical.
Yeah, like I'm old, Charles. I gave up on Westworld. It was just too freaking confusing for me.
Oh, not for me.
I know.
And I love Westworld.
Yeah, it just is too BS. I just don't know. And it's too clever for its own good, for my opinion only. This is going to be just clever enough. Yeah. That's what sold it on me, Charles.
Okay, that's fair. But obviously, from me coming from the Doctor Who side, I had a million questions right off the bat with Jack, because last time I'd seen him was in The Parting of the Ways, the Doctor Who Series 1 finale. And like I said, he was left in the far future. I knew that he could come back from the dead, so I wasn't surprised like you were. But like I said, I wondered, like, okay, so how did he get back to the present day? How did he hook up with Torchwood? And, why is he being so secretive? Because he doesn't seem like the Jack we knew in Doctor Who was a lot more like, who's a lot more devil may care.
Right.
in Doctor Who, and now he's suddenly a little more broody. He has this penchant for hanging out on rooftops like he's Batman with his cape flapping, and standing out in broad daylight, which I don't really get at all whatsoever. Especially when you're supposed to be a top secret organization. Let's stand on the top of the roof of your top secret building. But it just seemed like a complete change from the character. So I was wondering, like, how did what I just wanted to know more, and then we didn't get all the answers, of course, by the end of this episode. So I'm like, well, I guess I'll have to keep watching. Hopefully, they'll get answered.
Now, how much did you understand of Torchwood and its purpose going into this? Because I guess we had seen the first season, and now that I want to watch that first season of Doctor Who so bad, because to see from that perspective. So, did you understand a little bit more of Torchwood? Because later, I got Torchwood and Unit kind of two coins of the same, two opposite sides of the same coin, and then now I understand not at all. But it's like we need two organizations,
Yeah, I mean, I think it did kind of seem, obviously with my experience with Unit from the classic era, and the first series of Doctor Who where they kind of been reintroduced briefly in Aliens of London. I kind of wondered, well, okay, is Torchwood essentially a redundant version of Unit? And so I was a little puzzled by that. But, once the promos started coming out and the trailers, and then I kind of got the feeling that, well, it's kind of more a little bit like almost like the like Doctor Who meets the X-Files a little bit. And so not quite as, as serious as the X-Files, but which could be comedic at times, granted, but it seemed like it was like I said, almost like a hybrid of the X-Files and Doctor Who. So it felt like it wasn't quite Unit, because Unit was a military operation, and Torchwood seemed to be like this band of misfits.
Yes,
and so working clandestine like.
Even though he is Captain Jack and has a military title, it's not. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Because he wasn't. We didn't get the vibe from the trailers. That at least I didn't. That it was going to be run like a military operation by Jack.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So that I think distinguished it for me. Like it was almost like a private entity agency.
Yes. Absolutely.
So, but that's the kind of the way I kept them distinct in my mind. But anything else about Captain Jack? Gwen?
No. I mean, he rocks a pair of suspenders. He looks good. I love how he's flirting with everything.
Right.
The character sets itself up there really well.
Well, let me ask you about one sequence in particular. The sequence where Jack takes Gwen out to a bar, and this is after she's kind of gone through and met the various Torchwood team, and Jack's kind of like, well, hey, here's this, and Gwen's kind of figures out, after talking with Jack, she's like, you're telling me all this stuff, so what happens now? And eventually it comes out that, well, hey, Jack spiked her drink with this drug that's going to make her forget everything. And so she ends up scrambling back home to try to write everything on her computer, only to have Ianto hack her computer. Fortunately, at the exact right time that she's doing it, and almost like he was lying in wait, and erases the whole thing. So what did you make of Jack's doing that to Gwen?
Well, I wasn't surprised. It's their version of the Men in Black Flash, right? That does the memory wipe.
The flashy thing.
So that makes sense to me. And I actually like the idea that Gwen is smart enough to know that I've got to write this down. But she's not smart enough to realize, they don't think you're going to do that.
Yeah.
So I like the idea that they were monitoring her computer through, a virtual VPN, some super alien, spyware.
Yeah.
So that they were able to do that. I thought that made a lot of sense, and it looked good.
Yeah. I'm wondering, well, Gwen, why didn't you just write it down on a notepad? And,
Yes.
it's kind of hard to hack a notepad. They'd have to actually go into your apartment. So, granted, they could do that, but I think, that would create that extra step of protection.
And then it's, and you do get that, right, where she writes down something where, remember.
Remember,
So,
she writes down that, but that's all she writes down. So I'm thinking, okay, you were already writing stuff down. Why didn't you just keep going?
So, Charles,
yeah,
I had not thought of that till you said it. So I'm going to say I'm Gwen, right? That
yes.
I never write down notes anymore on pieces of paper. I do everything on a computer.
But keep in mind, this was 2006.
I get it.
So back then we were still more accustomed to. We didn't have we kind of had Palm Pilots and stuff back then, right. I think, but generally people still had the tendency to write stuff down as opposed to just entering it on their phone for later.
Yeah, no, you're right. But I like just to Gare. Yeah. I did not think of that till you said it. Once you said it, I went, well, that was kind of dumb of her.
Right.
So yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's good.
All right. Anything else about Jack and Gwen?
Nope.
Okay. Topic number 2. Let's talk about the rest of the Torchwood team. So let's talk about Owen, and let's talk about Tosh, and of course Ianto. So, what were your thoughts on the introduction of our supporting Torchwood members?
So I'm going to tell you my thoughts now.
Yeah.
And then I will tell you what I remember of my thoughts when I first saw this.
Okay.
My thoughts are sigh.
Yeah.
I miss this team a lot.
Well, all the 3 people we're talking about are dead.
Yes, exactly. I really like these characters. They had a lot of flaws.
Right.
They were not perfect. A lot of them made a lot of mistakes, but it was so good to see them. It was good to see them interact. I still feel to a certain degree when I remember watching it, I did not like Owen at all.
I don't think you were supposed to.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Because he's basically a dick. So, yeah.
Yes. And Toshiko, I loved. Yeah. I loved the.
You like Tosh?
Yeah, Tosh is smart and sweet and shy, and you can see if Gwen is being overlooked, Tosh is being overlooked in Torchwood.
Yeah.
And so I felt for her.
Yeah.
I just like, okay, this is an interesting crew, quote unquote crew, in the spirit of Star Trek or Firefly or something, or in the spirit of Doctor Who, interesting companions.
And Ianto?
Ianto was kind of at the beginning, not just kind of there.
Yeah, he was.
He was
almost like the Alfred of the group, Alfred Pennyworth of the group. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did like the scene, where he says, and he looks good in his suit. Careful, sir, that's close to harassment.
Right.
But yeah, it was a likable team, and I remember at the time loving Suzie the most.
Yeah.
But I think that's partly because of, and we'll talk about her next.
We're going to talk about her in our third topic.
Indira, I think chemistry, there is a reason why she's been in so many successful TV shows.
Yeah.
She has that star quality. All of these were great, and I just really liked them. I liked their banter back and forth. I liked their how they weren't necessarily buddy, but there was a friendship and a companionship there. I really liked how that was going.
Yeah, initially, I agree. They had, the teams had a nice little chemistry going. Like you said, Tosh is the shy, quiet one, and I kind of think that they kind of missed an opportunity to when you know that you brought up that Gwen could have bonded with Tosh over feeling overlooked in her uh, workplace, and that could have given
See,
them
that's
something.
Charles the writer,
But see, that's
and that would have
yeah.
been a great storyline.
I mean,
Jane Espenson,
because we never really got to see those
right?
two bond for some weird reason, and Owen essentially is the annoying bratty little brother who basically pushes the envelope, talks back to Jack a lot, and talks back to the other team, and he's basically a source of conflict. And then Owen is the very reserved, polite.
Ianto, you mean?
Yeah, Ianto. Yes, yeah. Ianto is the that polite support for the team, the
Yes.
behind the scenes guy.
Yeah.
That helps basically keeps the team running, whether the team realizes it or not.
Yes.
Yeah, the underappreciated Ianto.
Absolutely.
Exactly, but the one thing I want to talk about with you, and we kind of touched on a little bit earlier, the business where the idea that each of these people, well, actually, it looks like Yento wasn't, but essentially uh, Tosh and Owen were smuggling out these alien devices against Torchwood policy for their own benefit. Now, of course, Tosh, being the goody two shoes of the group, was just primarily interested in this what appears to be like a handheld PDF scanner.
Yeah.
That she could just put up to a book and it would scan the entire contents of a book in like a couple of seconds.
And was the word sent to her? Is it like, I was almost suing it as a speed reading device. By doing that, it transmitted the words directly to her brain, and so she could read really quick. That's what I was thinking. What did you get out of it?
What I got out of it was it didn't have anything to do with her brain. I thought it was more like an espionage thing that, like, hey, you want something, a bunch of documents read really quickly and copied. Here's this device to really quickly scan something and then go.
The reason why I brought that up is she was scanning classics.
Yeah.
So it that's why it looked like she was reading to me.
But it could be, like it could take like probably this, really thick encyclopedia and just download the contents, in a span of a couple seconds.
Okay.
And then you could transfer it to your computer or whatever, so that, so it just seemed like it had like kind of industrial espionage type purposes, that device. Now, while Owen, meanwhile, of course, being Owen, is essentially he gets a hold of this spray that's essentially a super aphrodisiac that makes him attractive instantly to either men or women, as we find out. Speaking of threesomes that we talked about earlier, and ultimately, of course, abuses that and takes advantage of it for his own personal sexual exploits, shall we say. So what did you make of that whole sequence where Owen essentially is like, I'm bored talking to you. I just want to have sex with you. Let me spray the stuff on my face. And then she gets turned on. They go off to have sex. And then the boyfriend shows up. What did you make of that whole sequence?
Well, of course he would, if you had the chance. I can remember years ago, Jon Stewart was a guest on back when Bob Costas had a talk show on HBO.
Yeah.
And he talked about if someone told you could take a pill or a chemical that would make you better at a job that would result in you making millions of dollars more an hour, a year, wouldn't you do it?
Right.
And so if you had a device where it would allow you to all of a sudden pick up anyone in a bar, wouldn't you use it? Right. And
Well,
so
I would think you'd have to have, like very strong personal ethics not to use it.
right.
It'd be very tempting, obviously.
Yes, very, very tempting. And I think they set it up very
Yeah.
quickly that they do not have that strong ethics.
Yeah. So were you surprised when Owen, when the boyfriend comes out and it looks like they're going to get into a fight, and the way Owen deals with it is to spray himself so that the guy is attracted to him as well. Did that surprise you?
It made me laugh.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I was surprised the first time I saw it, but seeing it again yesterday just made me laugh. Like, oh, I just don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let's just go do this. Let's move on.
Right.
And
then it turns into a threesome. So that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Anything else about Owen and Tosh or Ianto?
No. It was great to see them. Like I said, my overall feeling was I just hated in this show more than many others. It gets through characters. You go through a lot of characters. See topic 3.
Yes.
And I felt a sadness because I really loved all these characters.
Yeah. I should probably be getting paid by Big Finish at this point, but I would definitely recommend those Torchwood Big Finish audios if you're missing those characters, because they've come back in various Big Finish audios. So if you're really missing them, you probably should check those out. And if nothing else, I understand there's a Torchwood sale going on right now.
Ah, nice.
So if you're inclined to try one or two, that probably, like I said, Big Finish, feel free to cut me a check or something, because
at least give us free products.
Exactly. Yeah.
Give us free discs because we'll talk about them.
Exactly. Yeah. We should at least be getting review copies, right?
Exactly.
Even in digital form, right?
Yeah. By the way, they're having they're doing a sale as well, right?
Yes,
they're giving a free episode every Friday that you can download for free and listen on
every Monday.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the first one is the Innocent, the first one from the War Doctor,
with
John Hurt, which we talked about here. Exactly. Yeah, here on Next Up. So you could listen to that and then come on back and listen to our review of the Innocent if you want.
Absolutely.
I would definitely recommend that. All right. Anything else about the team?
No, not at all.
Okay, let's move on. Topic number 3. Let's talk about Suzie. Suzie Costello. A very interesting character. Like I said, she starts off, you think, oh, she's going to be pretty important to this team.
Yes.
And only to find out, well, hey, she turns out to be the big bad of the episode, because in her quest to figure out this resurrection gauntlet, she's decided, well, hey, I'm going to kill people. And she kills like 3 people just so she could practice with her glove. And she admits later on, and this is essentially the rationale for why she did it, was that she loves her job, but she says it's driving her mad. So apparently maybe fiddling around with this resurrection gauntlet has kind of sent her a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over the edge. What do you think about Suzie?
I remember really, really enjoying this character and was incredibly disappointed that she didn't stick around.
Right. You expected her to be a member of the team, right?
Right. Because remember, if I have my math right, I believe I was watching Torchwood in 2009.
Okay.
Is when he gave me this, because I started watching Doctor Who like on either December 2009 or December 2010. I can't remember which.
Okay.
Because I had almost caught up after Tennant's final episodes, and I asked at the time, should I save all the specials and watch them after I'm caught up? And people, that were Doctor Who fans said, yes, you should wait if you can do that. So it's been 10 years since I've seen this episode. I have not watched it again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I didn't remember that Suzie was the bad guy. I remember
So you
she
were surprised.
died.
So you were surprised again.
I was like, oh, that's right. I was like, I remember she dies,
Yeah.
and I remember that disappointing that we lost that character, but I had forgotten that she was the bad. So I was like, oh wow, man, that is some evil stuff.
Yeah.
That just to she was using people as human guinea pigs.
Yeah.
To do this. A great twist.
Right.
Something you don't expect. One, it was really surprising they killed off a main cast member.
Yeah.
I know that, other TV shows have wanted to do that.
Yeah.
But this one did. And, ended up, not only did they kill them off, but they made one of your heroes the villain.
Yeah.
So it was very, very nice. I liked it a lot. Now, how about you? Since you're, what was your thoughts?
I was a little, I understand to be a little surprised. I mean, when you're introducing a team, and then just to right off the bat have one of them turn out to be, for quote unquote, the bad guy.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that Suzie was strictly evil. I think she was just more, as she said, like a little bit insane.
Yes,
and really screwed up, probably because of the glove.
Yes.
And she kind of almost has, like, when she finally confronts Gwen, in that scene in front of the Millennium Center, she almost has a little bit of a breakdown there, where she's just like all the truth comes out, and there had been like no indication whatsoever throughout the entire episode that she was going to turn out to be the bad guy.
No,
nothing. And there's no hint, so that when it comes out, and it just comes out rather matter-of-factly, like, I've been practicing with a glove, and, so I went ahead and killed 3 people. Wait, what? What? You mean you're the killer? Really?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's one of those, like, if you weren't really paying attention to, like, if you're looking at your phone and you're not watching this episode, you're probably like, whoa.
What happened?
What just happened? Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. And you're like, what did I miss? So you kind of like, well, maybe I need to go back and catch something, but I don't think
Absolutely.
you do, because there's like zero hint.
No, nothing at all.
Now, Gwen, meanwhile, while Susie's confronting her, Gwen is still reeling from the effects of that little cocktail of Jack's. So she has like no clue what Susie's talking about when she's being confronted. And then of course there's that great moment where Jack shows up, like he rises in that little elevator. And while I'm thinking about it, how unsafe is that elevator? Because
so unsafe.
No railings whatsoever in this thing. Which, okay, maybe the railings would stand out when it came up to the the sidewalk, but you would think there would be some kind of protection, right?
Absolutely.
To keep you from falling off the edge. I'm just saying.
I agree.
Maybe I'm showing my age, like I'm a little safety conscious, I guess. But,
yes, absolutely.
But a little concerning. But anyway, so Jack rises up, and because of that perception filter, neither Suzie nor Gwen can see him. So he just kind of stands there taking all this in, listening to Susie's admission to Gwen, and until he finally steps off and confronts her.
Yeah, and there's that great scene where Suzie says, "Hey, don't think you can do that to me." There is the back and forth, and it was great that she shot him. And then we got the surprise reveal.
And you were shocked by that because you'd never seen Captain Jack before, obviously. So
yeah. And the other, the idea that she really is, we've already established she's a villain, but now then she's killed our hero.
Right.
It was a nice scene.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it because it's like, oh, they're still keeping the fact that Jack's immortal when he comes back, and I was just like, okay, good. That's still in play. And I was good. I was very relieved by that.
Yeah, me too. I can imagine you would be. Yeah.
But Suzie, sadly, because meets her end, and ends up being placed in that nice little morgue, or like that little tomb, I guess,
Hmm.
of former Torchwood employees. And how kind of
Yeah.
creepy is that? That you work in a building where they keep a little crypt of all your dead predecessors.
That's damn creepy, Charles. There's no two ways about it. That is damn creepy.
Yep. But of course, we end up. Suzie comes back because hey, it's Torchwood, and in the
Yes.
episode they keep killing Suzie. So this is the last we see of her. Interestingly enough, but for right now, all as far as we know, she's dead. So
Yes.
see you, Suze. And then Jack turns around and is like, "Well, hey, we got a vacancy. So Gwen, how about interested?"
Yes.
I mean, not. We don't expect you to get killed or anything, so
Yeah.
you would think she would take a little bit of pause and like, okay, so this is a job where I could get killed. Now, granted, she's a police officer, so
Right.
she
She's
might
used to
be
that.
she's used
Yes.
to that, but
Yeah.
still, the fact that oh hey, my predecessor died in front of me, that might you would think give you a little bit of pause, right?
But I think her being a police officer, that's okay. She's kind of come to grips with that, and
Yeah.
she trusts herself that she's going to stay safe. Maybe unwisely, but yes,
Yeah.
it was good. And
Uh-huh.
so, for a pilot episode,
Yeah.
really wraps up nicely. We meet all the characters. We get a feeling for who the characters are. We establish the world really well. I had no of the Doctor Who world, except he's in. I didn't even know it was a TARDIS. I knew
Yes.
he flew around in a telephone booth,
Yeah.
which it's not. I kind of understood the different actors played, so I knew nothing about this world. And by the end of this episode, I was like, I don't know about Doctor Who, but this Torchwood, it stands up on its own. I want to see more of this, and so I immediately went to the next episode on the disc.
So you were hooked. You were hooked from the first.
I was.
Yeah. And how weird was it seeing that pterodactyl in this episode? Because they don't really do anything with that pterodactyl ever again, do they?
No, they don't. They don't at all. Yeah.
And I'm kind of wondering, like, okay, so what was the purpose of that, Russell T Davies? Just to be like, oh, hey, look at how weird Torchwood is. They have a pterodactyl.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Okay. All right. Anything else about this episode?
It was a lot of fun.
Okay. All right. Let's move into our best lines of the episode. I imagine you've got a couple you want to share.
I do. I'll start with one, and then you'll go one.
Okay.
So I just love this.
Yeah.
Where Gwen walks in, she's carrying the pizza after she's used all her detective skills.
Yes.
To Captain Jack Harkness, and like, any chance you've delivered under pizza? Oh yeah, they're one of our best customers. And so she's get there, and we've already talked about Jack is talking about they were going to set her up, and then he goes, and before we go any further, who the hell orders pizza under the name of Torchwood? And Owen, yeah, that would be me. Sorry, I'm a twat.
Yeah.
I just like that was great. Like, okay, you talk about, okay, I'm a top secret operative. I'm going to stand on top of the roof and my thing. How about,
this team's security is just really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I am.
But again, we're talking misfits here.
Yes. I'm going to order pizza for you. For the UNCLE headquarters. It's like the man from Uncle.
Right.
All right. How about you? Got one for me?
Let's see. Let's start off with Jack in the rain, going. There you go. I can taste it. Estrogen. Definitely estrogen. And that's the British version of estrogen, by the way. You take the pill, flush it away, and it enters the water cycle. Feminizes the fish. Goes all the way up into the sky, then falls all the way back down onto me. Contraceptives in the rain. Love this planet. Still, at least I won't get pregnant. Never doing that again. as we wait for
That
Skype
was a
to
great
buffer
line.
here. Skype's being a little
The
tricky
last
on
one
us.
I had, the one was, there says, "How's your drink?" And Gwen, "Have you poisoned me?" Don't be so dramatic. It's amnesia pill, my own recipe. A touch of denial and a dash of retcon. Wake up tomorrow morning, you have forgotten everything about Torchwood. Worse still, you've forgotten me, which is kind of tragic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good one. And then let's see, Gwen Cooper talking about the invisible lift. And she's like, "How does it work?" And Jack's like, "No idea. We know how to use it, not how it happens. But if I were to guess, I would say that there was once a dimensionally transcendental chameleon circuit placed on this spot, which welded its perception properties to a spatio-temporal rift. But that sounds kind of ridiculous. Invisible lift has more of a ring to it, don't you think?"
I love that line because I'm going, oh, the TARDIS was parked there for some time.
Exactly. Yeah, that
right?
kind of
is what I heard in that statement.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me.
Yes.
We also got the
and
we also got the return of the Doctor's hand from from the Christmas Invasion. The one before his Thotten hand.
Yeah.
So what did
Yes,
you make of the return of the Doctor's hand? Well, sorry, you wouldn't know because you've never seen Doctor
I did
Who.
not catch that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and even the second rewatch, I did not catch that. I saw that.
Yeah.
In the IMDb under trivia. Yeah. So great episode. You got any other quotes?
Yeah. Let's see. Jack going, "That is so Welsh." And Gwen's like, "What is?" And Jack says, "I show you something fantastic. You find fault."
That was a great line.
Yeah. And
that
then
was a truly great line.
Yeah. Yes. All right. Skype.
You're fine, Charles. I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Skype's just buffering apparently. It's unfortunately because everybody in the planet is using the internet right these days.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So we just have to kind of muddle through it as best we can. And lastly, Jack doing his the Torchwood catchphrase, where he's like, "We don't just catch aliens. We scavenge the stuff they leave behind, find ways of using it, arming the human race for the future. The 21st century is when it all changes, and you've got to be ready."
Did we have a payoff on that?
No, absolutely not.
I don't think so. Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I didn't think we did.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly. All right. So what's your rating for this one?
I really love this. But, it's a pilot. There's a lot of heavy burden lifting to setting things up, but I still think they did a great job. I'm going to give it 8.5 pizza boxes.
Exactly. Well, we're in sync. I give it 8.5 as well. I'm going to give it 8.5 out of 10 resurrection gauntlets. So hopefully that will eventually come through.
Yes, absolutely. Yes,
right.
I can hear you.
I feel
when
like
you edit this one, it's going to be so crazy.
That's all right. I feel like we're in a temporal rift.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Hello.
That's all right. All right.
Yes.
So with Skype being a little tricky, I'm not going to go through my full spiel on reverse the polarity this time. But I'm going to go ahead and recommend Army of Ghosts / Doomsday if you're in the mood for a Doctor Who thing, because, well, this is the 12th and 13th episode of Series 3 from 2006, written by Russell T Davies, which, of course, introduced the concept. Actually, this is where we finally got to see the first Torchwood team during that at the Torchwood Institute in Canary Wharf, where you had the 10th Doctor and Rose Tyler, eventually getting, when after these ghosts show up, and then they show up at Jackie Tyler's flat. Those ghosts turn out to be Cybermen, and then the Daleks show up, and so there's this kind of little big Cybermen Dalek clash. And meanwhile, Torchwood, that team of Torchwood, led by Yvonne Hartman, essentially is trying to use the Doctor, and they're using this breach, and of course that ends up becoming important because that's the way the Doctor gets rid of the Cybermen and the Daleks, and almost loses Rose to that. But of course she ends up getting rescued by her alternate universe dad, Pete Tyler, and brought to that alternate Earth, where she's separated, presumably forever, from the Doctor.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's good.
So, but this is essentially, and this is essentially like the prequel to the Torchwood series.
Good.
I would say. So that's what I recommend.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice.
All right. So before we get into our feedback, I want to talk briefly, a lot of us have been kind of looking for things to do while we're kind of hiding out in our little social distancing. And thankfully, a lot of Doctor Who people have stepped up. There's been a lot of episode rewatches lately with various previous showrunners and actors of Doctor Who, and turns out Stephen Moffat, former showrunner Stephen Moffat, wrote a new Doctor Who short story, but he didn't just write one for the 10th Doctor or the 11th Doctor or the 12th Doctor. He wrote one for the 13th Doctor. So at long last, we have a Stephen Moffat 13th Doctor story.
So I'm going to...
Yes.
Well, and I wanted to say, he had already given us a small little snippet of a story. It's like Amy's Diary, kind of a prequel to the 11th Hour. He had done that.
Yeah.
He had agreed to tweet, and you're like, how cool is this? Stephen Moffat is, I liked it, I think, a little bit more than you. It is nothing earth-shattering, but it's a cute story that talks about Mel and Rory, and it's in the actress who played the young Amy, does the narration.
Caitlin Blackwood,
it's a really neat little gift to the fans. And you're like, this is so great. Look at you, Stephen Moffat. You really know how to help Doctor Who fans. Right. And then
he's not getting paid for this.
No, this is just,
He just does it because, hey, he's a fellow Doctor Who fan.
And like Russell T Davies had given us this, kind of, here's something that was kind of out of continuity, but now then that we know all doctors exist, let me share that.
And Chris Chibnall wrote something, and
here's what the Doctor was thinking.
Yeah, while she was falling, before she landed in the train and the woman who fell to earth, and so and then you've got mail that you've got messages was another little short story that we got that we talked about last time. So there has been so many gifts. Yeah.
But holy mother of shocking stories.
I was wondering where you were going to go with that.
Stephen Moffat, boom.
Yes.
You know what? You've always wondered what I would do. Here, I'll just write a Jodie Whittaker Doctor story.
Yeah, 13th Doctor story. How great is that, right? And so probably annoyed a lot of people that he wrote this, but good in my opinion, because this is a time to be positive. And he wrote this story called "The Terror of the Umpty Ums," which is a cutesy little title, granted. But it's a very simple story. It's just we basically were introduced to this rather unusual little boy called David. Unusual because, hey, turns out he's actually a Deathborg 400 called Carpagnan, with idea that basically has plans to destroy the human race. And Carpagnan's reign of terror ends up getting cut short because, the Doctor begins giving him advice.
And you know what? I don't want to go. I'm going to recommend we don't go any further.
No, I don't want to spoil it.
This is such a treat.
Yes.
And
it's not just like a couple of paragraph short stories.
No, this is and Charles, did you not?
This is at least a 3-page short story. Easy.
Did you not hear the 13th Doctor in that dialogue?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it is just
you can hear Jodie Whittaker's voice do it, and as you should.
And you just I know I'm going all over myself, but just in this time of so much negativity and so many people being depressed, for someone who takes, I mean, we have a lot of musicians that are doing show concerts, house concerts.
Right.
That just for free. Hey, I just feel like playing. If you want to donate to a charity, good. If not, that's good. And for someone who the two previous showrunners to give gifts of this is just something really beautiful.
Right. The problem, though, is it makes me, and I'm sure it won't happen.
Yeah.
But it really makes me want to have Russell T Davies and or Stephen Moffat come back and write an episode for Jodie Whittaker.
Yes.
In series 13.
Yes.
Hopefully, it'd be nice if Chibnall reached out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they would do it, even if he did.
Well,
but because they've had their time on Doctor Who, they probably feel they're done with it.
Well, I know Russell,
but they just apparently can't quite let it go because
I know Russell T Davies. I've read reviews, interviews where Moffat has always said the door's always open for you to come back.
Yeah,
and Russell T Davies said, no, I love being a fan. Right. I love now just not knowing what's going to happen and just being a fan. But I do, in my Jesse dream world,
yes,
I see a Skype call of the three of them.
Yes.
And let's throw in Neil Gaiman if we can. But let's do the three of them all like, hey, do you want to do a Doctor Who miniseries? And like, let's see if Chris wants to join us.
Yeah.
Let's do Chris and David and Matt and
like
Peter and Jodie.
Like a whole big jam thing.
Yeah, let's do a new version of the 5 Doctors. What do you think?
I think that logistically that would probably be insane, but stranger things have happened on Doctor Who, so who knows?
Yes, it is.
But and speaking of Neil Gaiman, since you brought it up, that's going to be actually the very next live tweeted Doctor Who episode. So I thought I'd mention that. That's going to be coming up on April 11th, just a few days from when we're recording this on April 8th, 2020. So hopefully you hurry up and listen to this episode so you can. But Neil Gaiman's going to be live tweeting during The Doctor's Wife. And so that's going to be the next one that we will watch. And that's going to be on Saturday, April 11th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time.
Great.
And I'm really looking forward to that. That's good. So it's probably going to be like 2 p.m. your time.
Okay, good.
But so I'll probably be live tweeting that because, it's a lot of fun. And if Neil Gaiman's writing it or going to be live tweeting it, it's going to be definitely worth your valuable time. And worst thing, you're going to watch The Doctor's Wife again. How horrible, right?
And greedy Jesse is like, what if Neil's got something, a little bonus to give us?
No.
I'm greedy. I'm greedy, Charles.
It would be pretty awesome if he wrote a little short story himself.
Yes, I'm just saying. I realize that's being greedy.
We can't expect these things.
No, we can't. But we can hope for them.
We can hope. But
please, Santa, TARDIS, give me this gift.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
So stay tuned, everybody. We'll find out how that turns out, and then we'll report back next week.
Okay.
All right. So feedback.
A lot of good feedback. We got 4, 2 from the very same person, David K. Proctor. So if you've been wondering, after we talked about it in episode 178, concerns about him having the coronavirus, well, guess what? We have some good news for you if you've been worried about him like we were. So do you want to read his first email, David's, and then I'll read his second one? Okay.
Why don't you read his first one? From April 1st.
Yeah. I really appreciate the personal outreach. I'm doing well. I got tested last Friday, but still haven't gotten test results back. The clinic has checked in several times, as well as all my coworkers. My wife has been awesome. I'm confined myself to my bedroom and the adjacent bathroom. My wife moved downstairs to the guest quarters. She has been doing all the cooking and working from home. She is a saint. TV and podcasts are my life, along with the old school book or two. I think the world will significantly change after this. We are realizing that many of us can work from home. Employers are realizing they may not need to heat and air condition or rent such large facilities when employees can be anywhere. Also, more jobs and more competitive employee hunts since people don't necessarily have to relocate to take a new job. The future. I appreciate the offer to visit. I'm staying busy and have really crappy Wi-Fi. Wife is hogging bandwidth. I'm a cop and my
club, David.
Yeah, I'm a cop and my coworkers are essential. I will be when I kick this bug's ass. I want all y'all to know that you guys are also essential. Please keep up the good work. I'm looking forward to the next podcast. Stay safe and stay well. David K. Proctor. David, thank you so much for giving us an update. We were very concerned about you.
It was very nice. Jesse reached out, after we had talked last time, and thankfully David wrote him back. So that was great that he responded so quickly. Now, he still hadn't gotten his test results back, so we were still a little bit in the dark. But thankfully, he wrote back 5 days later, and David said in this one, first of all, thanks for the kind wishes and personal reach out. You're very welcome, David. Thanks for getting back to us. I'm feeling much better, but I tested negative for COVID-19. Yay! It must have been a sinus infection complicated by allergies. Well, yours truly with sinus issues knows all about that, so absolutely. I can sympathize. Because right now I'm taking, Symbicort just to keep breathing after all my congestion. I like Torchwood, but I don't have as much access to it. The premise of the entire show was great, and it had potential. Unfortunately, Earth-based spin-offs suffer from the same things that Jon Pertwee's Doctor Who era suffered through. That they're a bit bound to a few story types without a TARDIS or some other conveyance. I like the idea of a police officer being observant enough to catch on to what is going on and would make a good choice as an added teammate. However, I may be biased. It has been a while since I've been able to watch this particular episode, but I give the series high marks, better than Class. Agree, definitely.
Yes.
Without question. I didn't see much of the Sarah Jane Adventures and none of K9 and Company. I think he says K9 and Friends here, but I think he means K9 and Company. That was only like one pilot, so it didn't even go to series. But he says, keep up the good work and stay well. And you too, David. But thank you so much for letting us know. So glad you tested negative. Now you just got to stay that way because like I said, we care about our listeners. We want all of you and your loved ones to stay healthy, and so stay safe. Keep your distance, whenever possible, and make sure you wash your hands and all that. Sterilize whenever possible.
Absolutely.
Use those masks when you can. So you don't spread the disease. I mean, it doesn't protect you from the disease, remember.
Yeah, but it stops you from bringing it on.
From giving it to others if you have it. So that's good. So
good.
All right.
Absolutely. You want me to read Holly's?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and read Holly's, and I'll read our last one.
All right. Hey guys, which would be us. The very first Torchwood episode. Nice to go back and watch it again. Jack really has a great sense of smell in the beginning of the story. We also find out that he's been pregnant once. There's some missing backstory there.
Right.
Completely forgot about Suzie and the Risen Mitten Gauntlet. Torchwood using Risen Mitten.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Torchwood using that alien tech to communicate with the dead. Reese and Gwen love their relationship this early in the pilot. When chuckling at the CSI Cardiff line from Gwen's police partner Andy, forgot how nasty looking and mean the Weevils could be. Thank heavens Team Torchwood is there to rescue Gwen from its attack. Love how Gwen's wanting to dig deeper into the mystery that is Jack Harkness and his team. Of course, Owen would be the one to order pizza from Jubilee Pizza under the name of Torchwood. I mean, it's about as bad as their non-conspicuous black vehicle having Torchwood engraved on the side of the car.
Right. And those flashing lights on the side. What's up with that?
I have to say that I love the layout of the hub. Just so many things to see. Love the nod to the 10th Doctor with his cut off hand in a jar on one of the desks. Gwen finding out the reality of Torchwood's job and covering death by alien creatures from everyone's safety. I love the
pterodactyl.
Mafani.
Yeah.
I love how Jack introduces Gwen to everyone on the team, just knowing she's going to want to join them after what she's seen. Love the scenic route that Jack and Gwen take to get back up topside. It really shows off the area of the Ronald Dahl Plaza. Roald Dahl, yeah. Where they filmed. I love Jack filling Gwen in about the history of current Torchwood and all former bases that were around. Of course, Jack would retcon her. Interesting to see Owen, Suzie, and Tosh using alien tech. Understandable for Suzie because Jack wanted more information on the glove, but Owen and Tosh were using the tech for their own personal uses, something is later changed by the end of the episode. Poor Gwen, trying to type up all that information she got from her talk and visit to Torchwood before she forgot, but Ianto hacking into her computer and deleting everything. And Jack didn't give Gwen too heavy of a dose of retcom if she's beginning to remember things after seeing the weapon up on the police board. Suzie, why did you have to turn out to be one of the baddies? Thank heaven Jack was there in the nick of time to save Gwen, even though if Suzie did kill him by accident, but hey, immortal, he can come back to life. The end with Gwen joining the team and Team Torchwood 2.0 is born. A great pilot episode. I'll wrap it up here. Holly from Wisconsin.
Thank you so much, Holly.
Oh, Holly, great points all the way around. I love that. We always love hearing from you. And yeah, just so much.
Thanks for writing a really long email to trip up Jesse.
Yes, exactly.
He thought he was going to get away with a nice short Holly email. No, not this time.
Yes.
So, lastly, we have a short email from Paul Beck. So, funny how that worked out.
It's the luck of the draw, Charles. We take turns,
exactly.
Yes, but that is funny.
But yeah, so Paul from Australia. We haven't heard from him for a while because we knew he was having problems with wildfires. Now he's got the coronavirus to deal with. So rough times these days. But Paul's thankfully has checked in. He says, "Hi, Charles and Jesse." Hi, Paul. He says, "Just wanted to email to say hi and tell you how much I've been enjoying the podcast." Well, thank you so much, sir. We definitely appreciate you listening. He says, "Keep up the good work, and we definitely need something bright in our lives at this time, and your show provides it!" Exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Yay! Thank you, Paul. That really does mean a lot. It does, especially right now. So thank you, smiley face. At present, I'm still working at work. That's great to hear. As we had to let go all of our casual employees. So devastating a time. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Yeah, it is. That's so tragic to hear.
It is.
If there is ever a time we need the doctor, it's now. Definitely.
Well said.
Yeah, definitely. Sending my kindest regards to both of you and everyone, Paul. So... Paul, I'm so sorry that you had to let all those people go at work. It's a horrible time right now. I feel fortunate that I have a job still. Jesse feels very fortunate.
Oh, very fortunate.
So,
yes.
So hopefully that continues. But a lot of people, especially in the restaurant service industry and also in retail.
Yes.
They have lost their jobs. So obviously my heart goes out to all of you. If that's what happened to you, I sympathize completely.
Oh, we do.
And, our heart, both hearts in our chest, because, hey, we're Time Lords.
Yes.
Go out to you. So, but it really does mean a lot. Like I said, when people like Paul write in and say, hey, we cheer you up a little. or we make things a little, we make this dark, dark world a little bit brighter. So if we're doing that, we're doing our job right.
That is what we're here for, Charles. I know, and I know, it. I took the high road, but there was once again a jackass on Twitter that they recorded a little something about Jodie, how to be safe. She was in character as the doctor. Another little thing about wash your hands, thing, and
again, there's nothing that Jodie Whittaker has to do.
No,
she's just doing it because she's cool.
Yeah, and someone. I won't even, but
don't even give it the name. Don't say the name.
Said that it was filled with political correctness. Doctor Who has not been good since John Pertwee and Tom Baker did it. By the way, misspelled one of the doctor's names.
Yeah, he's misspelled John Pertwee because he's put an H in it. It's like how he's such a great fan. He doesn't even know how to spell John Pertwee's first name.
Yeah, and when BBC actually cared what people wanted, and Charles, I responded, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is obviously someone who misses the lessons of the doctor.
Yeah.
And hashtag she is my doctor.
Right.
And so
a lot of these people they take something positive like Jodie Whittaker doing this and they use it. They think, oh, this is a soapbox or a great place for me to get up on my soapbox and hate on Jodie Whittaker. And it's just like, no, idiots. This is not the time and the place for that. No, you can do that any old time.
Yeah.
Let's try being positive for just like 5 seconds, okay?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
So, Charles.
Yes.
That was great feedback, but I guess I'm betting that we have listeners going, wow, I want to be one of the cool kids and share feedback. How could they?
Well, if you do want to be one of the cool kids like David K. Proctor, Holly Mack, and Paul Beck, from Australia, please write to us at nextstopeverywhere.smg@gmail.com. The Gmail. That's nextstopeverywhere.smg for Southgate Media Group @gmail.com. Or you can reach out to us on Twitter at nextstopsmg on Twitter, or on Facebook, Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast, or on Instagram. Reach out to us at Next Stop Everywhere Podcast on Instagram. Jesse, how about you? Where can they reach you?
Well, you can hear me. Charles and I also do 2 other podcasts. Neither one of them are current, though there is a seeking. We're giving you a little hint. There may be an upcoming episode of Fandom Zone, a special stay-at-home version of the Fandom Zone podcast coming up. But the Fandom Zone podcast, where we talk about comic book series on TV, we covered, they just re-showed Crisis on Earth. We covered all of them with our good friend Nick. We did a full breakdown of Watchmen. If you're just now binging Watchmen and you want to go, I wish I had a good podcast. Yeah, highly recommended.
Watchmen got nominated for Hugo. 2 episodes got nominated for Hugo Awards. Just saying.
Yes, absolutely. And by the way,
Doctor Who got nominated for Resolution for a Hugo Award. So the New Year's special, So just thought I'd point that out.
No, that is good. We also we do the Titan Talk, which is a podcast all about DC Universe's direct channel, where we've talked about Doom Patrol and the Titans. So please check those out if you are going and binging shows. The last one I do is Set Listing Bruce. It's a podcast where I talk to Bruce Springsteen fans and other fans of other musicians from around the world. A good friend, Wendy Hembrock from Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, was just on the show. I've got a college professor that teaches in New Jersey. He actually is a history professor and does a U.S. history told through the songs of Bruce Springsteen. He is coming up next week. Episode, so you can check us out. I'm on Twitter at Jesse Jackson DFW and Instagram and all that other stuff. Charles, how about you? How can they reach you?
All right. As for me, of course, at Charles Skaggs on Twitter, at Charles Skaggs on Instagram, Facebook, Charles Skaggs in Hilliard, Ohio, and my blog of Geeky Things, rather appropriately for today's Twin Peaks 30th anniversary.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
damn good coffee and hot, where I talk about all the stuff we talk about here on Next Stop Everywhere. Your Doctor Who, your Torchwood, your Sarah Jane Adventures, all kinds of comic book sci-fi news, news of my other podcasts they do for Southgate Media Group, including the aforementioned the Phantom Zone podcast, and that I do with Jesse. And hey, Titan Talk, the Titans podcast, where we talk about the DC Universe streaming service, Titans and Doom Patrol, that I also do with Jesse. And Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast, that I do with Zan Sprouse, whom you've heard here on Next Stop Everywhere, who's an absolute delight. And obviously, we talk about all things Twin Peaks, David Lynch. We're going to be recording tomorrow our big Twin Peaks 30th anniversary, because today was the actual 30th anniversary, but for some reason I'm talking Doctor Who. That's okay. Or excuse me, I'm talking Torchwood, not Doctor Who today. And so we're going to be doing that tomorrow, but that's going to be episode 72 if you're curious about that. Definitely check it out because it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do our commentary of the original Twin Peaks pilot from 1990. And basically, it's going to be like...
It's like Ghostwood here.
It's like Ghostwood here. So please check it out. And I'm sure Zane would appreciate it, and I know I certainly would.
Exactly.
All right, as Jesse types away furiously about something. Because I can hear those keys typing away.
Man, this new mic is just way too good.
It is.
So, yes, very nice.
Very sensitive, very sensitive. You can adjust that if you're curious.
Yeah, I will have to play with that, yes.
But yeah, I know we're running long once again. We had a lot to talk about because, hey, it's Jesse's first Torchwood episode.
Absolutely.
So we knew we had to devote some time to that. And then we had some great feedback. We definitely had to update you on David K. Proctor. So glad we were able to do that. And next time on Next Stop Everywhere, it'll be episode 180 of Next Stop Everywhere. And we're going to be starting a three-parter, three-episode series of Children of Earth, the Torchwood Children of Earth, the third series of Torchwood, featuring a certain 12th Doctor by the name of Peter Capaldi, although he's not going to be playing the Doctor. He's playing John Frobisher, a completely different character, but it's still cool to see Capaldi before he became the Doctor. And we're going to be covering in this first part, we're going to be covering the episodes Day 1 and Day 2, which is parts 1 and 2 of Children of Earth. And we're going to have a very special guest joining us because Holly Mack has agreed to join us to talk the first two parts of Torchwood Children on Earth. And, you love her emails. I know I certainly do. You've heard her before here on Next Stop Everywhere. And I'm really glad to have her come back and join us for these first two parts of Children of Earth, because I think it's going to be a really interesting discussion.
Yeah, I was thrilled that when we started talking about Torchwood Month, that we will go back down the road and review other Torchwood episodes because there are some great ones.
Right.
But I thought you could certainly make the argument this was their finest hour as a series.
I think
the Children of Earth, and I think this is great.
Yeah, this, as far as I'm concerned, this is the best thing Torchwood ever did.
Yes.
Yeah. And so Jesse, any final thoughts before we sign off?
I'm going to echo what you said earlier to all our listeners. Take care of yourselves. Look after your older relatives. Wash your hands. Keep your social distance. Wear your mask when you need to go out. Just understand that we're going to get through this. And it's going to be fine. We just got to take care of things. Better days are ahead. By the way, while you're listening, while you're at home, be a great time to go to iTunes to rate and review us. Just saying, we'd love to get a little love as Charles and I are doing our part.
Yep.
And Charles, how about you? Any final words from you?
Just to reiterate, everybody stay safe, stay smart, and then come on back for next time. Episode 180 of Next Stop Everywhere as we talk Children of Earth, Day 1 and Day 2 with Holly Mack. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll see you next time right here on Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.